Welcome back to part 2. This took quite a long time, so what I'm going to show you is the steps rather than every bit of me doing it. So start off with some PVA. You want to seal the cement, stop the dust forming like that. I stick the boulder onto a Lazy Susan so I can spin it round, brush all the dust off, ready to seal it with the PVA. That's going to be watered down and stop any further dust forming. A generous coating of watered down PVA not only seals the dust but actually gives quite a good surface. It's tacky, so it gives a good surface for any future painting, etc. to stick to. It's bright white at the moment, but it does dry clear. We want to cover the metal spikes and make some bits look drip between the two boulder parts, so we're going to use some cloth, soak it in PVA and put that in place between the two boulders to form what will become the metal drips. At the moment these are just well soaked in PVA and then sort of artistically placed around those metal spikes. What we want to do is create that impression of dripping metal between the two boulder sections. These will get firmed up shortly. The cloth was firmed up by mixing some neat cement and water to make a sloppy clay and soaking all the cloth in that once the PVA had dried. This gave us some nice rocky looking supports, and then it's time to paint the boulder. There's going to be lots of coats, so first of all some just watery silverish paint. Colour doesn't matter at this point, you're going to paint over several times. Splash it all over, get it into all the cracks and crevices. You want to give a base layer to cover all the cement. So this is going straight onto raw cement and PVA. A short time later, and the boulder's grey, the acrylic paint's taken away that cementy look and it's actually beginning to look a little bit more like a boulder. The next coat's much darker. This is going to form the shadows in the cracks. I'm going to paint it lighter on top. You can see here I'm using a sponge to dab it on. Well, actually I've painted it on and I'm using the sponge to dab off any runs. This is going to the first of the sort of top level coats of paint. While that top level dries, I start addressing the middle bit. You can see it's quite spiky where I put that modelling cement clay stuff. So I'm going to use paint. You see how thick that green paint is? At the moment it doesn't matter the colour. I'm going to use paint almost like a putty or a paste to try and smooth off that the rough concrete. So here I'm mixing green and blue. It's going to get painted over several times, but just look how thick it is. This is really proper paste rather than paint. I'm scraping great gloops of this paint out and smearing it over. I want to get rid of as much of that roughness as possible. This is meant to look like a moulded liquid, so push it into some of the cracks, scrape it on, just try to get rid of jaggedy edges. With the contrasting colours you kind of get an idea what it might look like in the end. I've also got my favourite art critic giving his views on this. So what do you think, Tommy? Tommy felt it'd be better with some silver highlighting, so here's some silver paint, put that in a pan, we're going to get a sponge and dab it all over. Dabbing the paint on with a sponge like this means that you don't fill in all the crevices, so as you see there, the shadows of the cracks and crevices in the rock remain highlighted. It's quite a nice little technique. It's really beginning to look like a boulder now. I'm going to now darken it up, lighten it up, add some more colours, a bit of brown, a bit more black, a bit more silver. Build up multiple layers, make it look properly natural. And here it is looking proper natural. Where's the vocab coach when you need it? Anyway, it's been cold and horrible, so there's a heater you can see in the background there, trying to dry the paint. There you are. Over there's a wooden model I'm working on, there's a box I'm working on, and there's a clock. Yeah, I do lots of things at the same time. Anyway, let's move on to the paint. I'm now going to start doing the gold finish, so I want to use some decent paint. And here you can see I'm actually using studio acrylic, same stuff I use for proper paintings. As well as nice paint, I'm using nice brushes, so there's a nice fine one for detail work, there's a bigger one for coverage, a nice long handle to get into the gaps, and I'm going to be adding some secret crystals onto it to make it glitter. It should be good. It should be good, but as I started to put them in, I really wasn't convinced. I tried sort of doing some little gold highlights like this so you can see almost fractures into the stone and then sprinkle some crystals into the gold, but I don't know. Didn't seem to work for me, so pretty much after this did a couple more and then stopped. I might come back to them. Let's have a look at what it looks like when the rest is done. So now I'm going to move on to painting the inside gold. Painting the inside gold is exciting to watch, as you imagine, but I'll show you a few bits. Basically, remember using the studio paint, so it's much denser pigment, so squirt some pieces on there and we're going to really spread this around. So what I'm going to do is use a big brush to poke it into the holes and then brush it around. So even though I've only got those little tubes, it actually does go quite a long way. Get the big brush, brush it around, paint, paint, brush, brush. Yeah, exciting stuff. I mean, just look at this. You're literally watching paint. Well, not paint dry, but not far from it. But yeah, basically poke it into all the stuff, make it covers. We're going to brush it over afterwards. You really don't want to watch me do this for the next hour and use one or two tubes of paint, but I'll show you the end result. And here's the end result. Well, not really. It's the first coat of gold, but as the heat in the background shows, it's bloody cold in there. So I'm going to let that dry. It's probably going to take a day or two. Then I'm going to turn it over, do it from the side, do it from the up. Add a few touches and details, maybe a couple of different colours of gold in there, not sure. Actually thinking about putting some crystals into the middle of it, so those crystals, and sort of poke them into that bit there, but I really want to see what those ones on the outside look like before I commit to that. Another coat of paint improves things, but I don't like those crystals on the outside, so I'm going to paint over those. I'm feeling the gold's a bit too light. That's 352 on the colour range. 350 is more golden, but I decided on a better approach. Well, hopefully better. This is mica flake. It's designed to go in resin, and basically it's lots of tiny little dusty gold stuff. Smaller than glitter, real proper fine dust. Goes in resin. So let's see what that looks like. I want something to bulk out the paint and also add the mica to. So this structure gel. Hopefully this will give me something. Mix it up in a bowl, and yeah, hopefully that'll give me something more like a big modelling paste. So let's see how that works. I'd mixed up the paste, the gel, with the gold paint, and it was okay, but sort of a flat, dull gold rather than shiny. So let's see what adding this mica dust actually does to it. Important to use very careful measures, so there's some of that, and shake a bit of that in it. We're now going to mix it well and see what it does. This stuff gets everywhere. Takes a lot of mixing to combine the paste and the mica, but once you're there, you're pretty good. Now, using a paintbrush, you've got to apply it. I want to try to smooth those out a bit, so just brush off any dust, any loose stuff. Now, look at that, I'm scraping it on. It's being applied, I mean, like polyfiller almost. But yeah, real thick, gloopy paste, trying to smooth off all the roughness. This is going to use a lot of this gel, a lot of the paste and flake. I'm not going to say how much because my wife watches these videos, and when you've got a vanity project like this, you really don't want to talk costs. But yeah, this takes a long time as well, so I'm going to fast forward to the end result. Blimey, I record this all real time for the whole process, then edit down to give you the highlights. I had no idea I spent so long on it. No wonder my wife gets pissed off with me. Anyway, we'll click forward to see what it looks like tomorrow. And tomorrow it looks goldy. So I decided to add some crystals on a transition between the gold and the stone. These I used to stain with an alcohol-based stain. It's great, apart from it gets all over your fingers, and it was dried up, so I added some alcohol. Then soaked the crystals in them, and then glued them with super glue around the edge of the rock. So you splash this on, pour a load of crystals over the glue. It's only going to stick where the glue is there, so you can put as many crystals as you like. Catch your spares on the pieces of newspaper as you see below. So here go the purple crystals, lots of those on. Keep going round until you've covered the whole edge of the stone. You can sit there and wait 20 minutes for the glue to dry each time, but I use a speed activator. It means I don't have to wait 20-30 seconds, I can do it in 2 or 3 seconds. So pile up your crystals, spray it with your speed activator, there you go. Yeah, wear a mask and all that stuff. Sometime later you've got crystals all the way around the pebble, and you're just brushing the loose ones off the gold. That is almost done. A load more faffing, and we're now really nearly almost done. So that's ready to give you a wobble cam as I walk around and show you the finished result. Hold on to your headsets, here comes wobble cam. Hey. Okay, so nice and goldy, those crystals don't look too bad. It doesn't really show quite how gleaming it is here, but it is. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. No idea what I'm going to do with it, but I'm pleased with it. You see the top, I haven't put the crystals, but then I had to bend down to show that shot. If you look at it normally, yeah, it's pretty good. I've got to decide, do I varnish or do I resin? I'm contemplating resining the gold and then varnishing the stone, but with a matte varnish. We'll see. I'm pleased with it as it is. One last twirl to close the video, and yes, I give you, ta-da, broken boulder.